What's up everybody, I'm Nick and this is the Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines you may have missed this week. It's already February, can you believe that? Time just never slows down. But that's okay, because we've got a packed show for you. This week we're looking into everything you need to know about the launch of Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, another reputable Switch 2 rumor, how Deadpool 3 might save the MCU, and a whole lot more. Anyways, time is money, I've talked enough, let's hit that transition graphic and get to the first story.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League officially hits retail tomorrow, January 30th, but if you pre-ordered the Deluxe Edition for $30 extra, you were granted early access that was supposed to have begun, well, now. Unfortunately, a bug discovered right when early access went live forced developer Rocksteady Studios to pull the game entirely. Via a statement on Twitter, Rocksteady said, quote, "We're aware that a number of players are currently experiencing an issue whereby upon logging into the game for the first time, they have full story completion," the statement said. It continues, "To resolve this issue, we will be performing maintenance on the game's servers. During this time, the game will be unavailable. We expect this to take several hours, and we'll update once we have more information. We apologize for the inconvenience." It's unclear if customers who forked over the extra money for the deluxe version will be getting refunds or any type of compensation. After all, early access was touted as one of the features of the more expensive version, and as of shooting this video, the game is still unavailable hours after it was supposed to have gone live. Meanwhile, if you're wondering where IGN's review of the game is, which you'd think we'd have up by now considering the game comes out for everybody tomorrow, well, we're not going to get it up until then either. Publisher Warner Brothers elected not to send certain outlets review codes for the game, and yeah, we published a fairly negative preview a while back, but considering the state of this early access launch, there might be more to it than that. If you want to read more on that bit of drama, you can check out Tom Mark's explainer over on IGN.com.
With games like Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 last year getting players all hot and bothered over romance options, it can sometimes feel like romance systems are becoming a staple of modern RPGs. But that's not going to be the case with Avowed, which is opting to forego a dedicated romance system for a focus on building thoughtful relationships with companions instead. In an interview with IGN, game director Carrie Patel confirmed Avowed would not feature romance options. She said, "We are building thoughtful relationships with our companion characters. Ultimately, I personally am a fan of making that an option, but I feel like if you're going to do it, you really have to commit and make sure that you're giving all to fulfilling that in a way that feels both true to the character, but also creates an engaging player experience. So not something we're doing for Avowed, but I wouldn't say never." Patel points out that having a dedicated romance system in a story-focused game is a ton of work. You need options for both a fulfilling romance as well as a regular friendship for those who don't want to go down that path. In addition, players generally expect multiple romance options, and expectations around the depths of each relationship only seem to be climbing higher and higher with each new Shadowheart video games introduced. It's a big ask, and also not a necessary one if the story of the game doesn't lend itself to romance in the first place. So, romance wasn't part of the vision for Avowed, and they don't want to half-ass it. I can respect that. Although I'd love to be able to romance this guy. Avowed is due out later this year on Xbox and PC. I don't know if it's a guy or not. Could be a girl.
Some more rumors have emerged about what we can expect hardware-wise from Nintendo's as-of-yet unannounced follow-up to the Switch. Bloomberg reports that Omdia analyst Hiroshi Hayase, a specialist in the display market, claims the new console will feature an 8-inch LCD screen and will launch sometime later this year. This is in line with previous rumors that we'd heard, and while it's a bummer for anybody hoping for an OLED screen, the added real estate should be pretty noticeable. Comparatively, the launch Switch has a 6.2-inch screen diagonally, and the OLED version is 7 inches. Launching the new model with an LCD screen will keep costs down, and based on the number of people that I know who double-dipped on the OLED model after already owning a launch model, Nintendo seems to have a pretty good reason to wait a couple of years and drop a mid-gen refresh with a nicer display. Again, nothing is confirmed, but this is a reputable source, not just some anonymous post on NeoGAF or a kid on the playground who says his uncle works for Nintendo. Previously, VGC posted a report that the new console will still have a cartridge slot, though there's no word on whether or not it'll be backwards compatible. You better believe we will keep you posted on whatever Nintendo's cooking up. Hopefully we get an announcement sooner than later.
And finally today, Warner Brothers has gifted Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Deluxe Edition owners $20 of in-game currency as a make-good for server issues that rendered the always-online game unplayable for periods during launch. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League arrived on January 30th for those who paid $100 for the Deluxe Edition, which was supposed to grant customers a 3 days head start over everyone else. But the early launch had issues, including a bizarre bug that automatically completed Suicide Squad for some and forced the game offline for more than 6 hours. Additional downtime prevented players from logging on before the service stabilized, but not before disgruntled customers complained about not getting their money's worth. Now, Warner Brothers has sent affected customers an in-game message about the gift. Thank you for being one of our first console players during early access of Suicide Squad Squad Kill the Justice League, the message reads, per a post from Twitter user JShockblast. We recognize that you've been patient with us during our initial launch server updates, and we'd like to show our appreciation for your patience with a special gift of 2,000 Luther coins. Thank you again. 2,000 Luther coins cost $20, and we'll get you a couple of standard in-game skins or a single deluxe or legendary skin. The debacle over Suicide Squad's launch issues has renewed calls for the promised offline mode to be added to the game as soon as possible. With Suicide Squad launching for Standard Edition owners on February 2nd, all eyes are on the servers to see if they hold firm or render the game unplayable once again. Warner Bros. Games is about to unleash Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League upon the world. One of the most controversial aspects of it is that it will require an online connection to play at launch. An offline mode patch will come later. But as unpopular a decision as this seems to be, it sounds like we should expect more always online games from Warner Bros. In the future. According to Variety, Warner Bros. Discovery chief David Zaslav is emboldened by the mega success of last year's Hogwarts Legacy, which was the best-selling game of the year, and Mortal Kombat 1. CFO Gunnar Weidenfels added, "I've double and triple checked some of the metrics here because it's such a great investment opportunity. I'm stunned that we haven't been investing more into this opportunity. We're going to start tackling that." He's talking about gaming in general. So Warner Bros. Wants to double down on gaming, and CEO of global streaming and gaming JB Perrette told Variety they need, quote, more than just one great hit every 3 or 4 years. And here's where we come to the quotes that will be most relevant to you, dear viewer. Perrette says, "We want it to be always on. And the good news is the gaming space is lending itself to that." He's looking to, quote, build out live services, mobile games, and free-to-play games for Warner Bros.' most profitable franchises, which include Harry Potter, DC, Mortal Kombat, and Game of Thrones. After the dust settles on Suicide Squad, Warner Bros. Will be working closely with new DC co-boss James Gunn to create more DC games. Perrette said, frankly, there hasn't been as close a relationship between the studio and the games business as there should have been. And James is actually a gamer, so having someone who's passionate about it is super helpful. Deloitte analyst Kevin Westcott tells Variety that streaming platforms are looking to get more into gaming, specifically live service gaming, because gaming has a much lower churn rate of subscribers. Netflix is obviously really going for it with an already large roster of big names like Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, Dead Cells, and more. Westcott said, if you look at those companies that have large streaming platforms, they're dealing with 3+% per month churn on their subscribers. Live games, the ones the gaming industry is now talking about, have a very, very small churn rate as compared to streaming. So you're seeing more and more of the streaming players saying, why don't we add games as part of my entertainment offering? Games have a lower churn rate, music has a lower churn rate, and I've been recommending to our clients that they should think about offering a whole slew of other types of digital entertainment. So, more live service games from Warner Bros. In the future. And if we don't like the sound of that, maybe we should increase our churn rate in live service games.
Ubisoft's long-awaited pirate game Skull and Bones is finally coming out next month, and for anybody impatient to climb aboard and set sail, there's an open beta taking place a few days before launch. The beta will be on all platforms, namely Xbox Series, PS5, and PC, and will run from February 8th to 11th. In that time, players can reach the infamy cap of Tier 6 and earn exclusive rewards, including unique ship cosmetics, an emote, a weapon, and a Pandal lemur pet. Progress will carry over from the beta to the full game, which comes out February 16th. Ubisoft Plus subscribers will get the game 3 days early on February 13th. Ubisoft also announced a full year-long roadmap, or maybe more of a nautical chart, for Skull and Bones' post-launch content. IGN's Travis Northup had a chance to experience it firsthand, along with some high-level endgame content, so if you're curious, go check out his preview.
February is right around the corner, and with it comes a new batch of games on PlayStation Plus. Today, Sony revealed that Foam Stars, Rollerdrome, and Steel Rising will be available to PlayStation Plus subscribers from February 6th to March 4th. Those games aren't the only things Sony has cooking for players in February. Subscribers will also receive a Fall Guys Icons pack, allowing them to fashion their little bean dudes in costumes of Aloy from the Horizon series and Ratchet & Clank from, well, Ratchet & Clank. In addition to the Fall Guys Cosmetic Pack, PS Plus Premium and Deluxe subscribers can look forward to a Valentine's Day gift in the form of a Spider-Man 2 game trial. The trial will give you a 2-hour time limit to web swing to your crime-fighting heart's content. Plus, any story progress and trophies you unlock during that allotted time will carry over to the full game should you decide to purchase it later. Now, for the games. Foam Stars is a team-based hero shooter from Square Enix, where the goal is to leave your adversaries in your suds. Basically, think about it as if Overwatch 2's heroes were dropped into the world of Splatoon, and their weapons were soap-based. Foam Stars will be available to PS Plus subscribers on both PlayStation 4 and 5. Rollerdrome by OlliOlli World developer Roll7 is a third-person shooting and roller skating game set in a dystopian 2030. You play as a skater who's tasked with entering a battle arena against waves of armed skaters for the chance to be crowned as the champion of the Rollerdrome. In our review, we said, its roller skating and third-person shooting may sound odd together, but just like its stellar soundtrack, Rollerdrome finds harmony in marrying the two to create something that truly shreds. Rollerdrome will be available for PS Plus subscribers on both PlayStation 4 and 5. And Steel Rising, developed by French game studio Spiders, is a Souls-like set in an alternate history of the French Revolution where lethal automatons run amok. In our review, we said Steel Rising is a competent action RPG with an unforgettable setting, but it's dragged down by its humdrum Souls-like formula that doesn't do anything to make its combat or exploration stand out. Steel Rising will be available for PS Plus subscribers on PlayStation 5.
Anyway, finally, in other Sony news, indie game developer Lilith Walker, aka PSX Bunlith, has announced that the fan-made Bloodborne Kart has finally gotten the attention of Sony, but not in a good way. Via Twitter, Walker announced that Sony had gotten in touch about the indie game project, and now the Bloodborne branding has gotta go. Walker's taking the news in stride, saying, quote, "We are all expecting this to happen. Although the game will no longer be Bloodborne themed, the dev team are excited to now be working on an original game that they have, quote, full control over." I guess that's one way to get eyes on an indie game. You launch it with a known IP attached to it, and then, I don't know, just follow the cease and desist and change the logos around. That's basically what happened with Them's Fightin' Herds, which began as a My Little Pony brawler before Hasbro's lawyers picked up the phone. Worked out fine for them in the end, so here's hoping that Bloodborne Kart, or whatever they decide to call it, finds similar success. Bloodborne Kart was first announced back in 2022 with a release date of January of this year, and as you might have guessed, that release date is going to have to be postponed while changes are made. While you wait, you can still play the team's PS1 demake of Bloodborne, Bloodborne PSX. The world of copyright law is immensely convoluted, and in order for companies to retain the rights to their IP, they have to defend it when other parties start using it, even if they're using it in like a very nice, flattering love letter sort of way like this. That said, a free fan-made Bloodborne Kart PC game seemed like a pretty textbook example of just parody, and a harmless one at that. It would have been cool if Sony gave it their blessing, or even helped publish it. Then again, it would be nice if Sony did literally anything with the Bloodborne franchise. We say this every time they announce a state of play, but gee whiz, it sure would be nice to hear about a Bloodborne remaster, remake, PC port, sequel, TV show, literally anything. Put the weird carriage in Gran Turismo. Do literally anything with Bloodborne. Just show the Bloodborne logo with no context. We'll all cheer. Tekken 8 is out today, and even though it's launching with a hefty roster of 32 fighters, fans are already clamoring for one specific guest character they want to see added, Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. In fact, there have been so many demands that Tekken boss Katsuhiro Harada had to tell them to cool it. Responding to one of these demands in a quote tweet, Harada-san wrote, "We all know she's attractive and I understand that, but as of yet, we have not decided anything about guest characters, etc." Looks aside, Tifa's fighting style would be right at home in Tekken. The main issue is that Tekken is owned by Bandai Namco and Final Fantasy is under Square Enix. That doesn't mean a Tifa appearance is out of the question though. We've definitely seen weirder crossovers, and coincidentally, just yesterday, Harada-san posted some photos from the Taipei Game Show saying, quote, "FF7 Rebirth and Tekken 8 are in the same Bandai Namco booth," which is confusing for a moment. This is the interesting part of publishing and distributing in the game industry. For context, Bandai Namco is publishing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in parts of Southeast Asia. These things tend to happen. It's possible that Harada-san is hinting at a future collaboration. It's also possible he's just pointing something out, and it's also possible he's messing with fans because he knows they want Tifa in Tekken 8. He has been known to goof around like that. Like I said, Tekken 8 is out right now without Tifa. Until we hear otherwise, the next place you can make her whoop some ass is in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which hits PS5 on February 29th.
Moving on, Embracer Group has reportedly canceled a new Deus Ex game that was 2 years into development and laid off some staff at Eidos Montreal. Eidos Montreal released a statement on Twitter addressing layoffs, but not the reported Deus Ex game cancellation. The statement reads, "The global economic context, the challenges of our industry, and the comprehensive restructuring announced by Embracer have finally impacted our studio. The difficult decision has been made to let go of 97 people from development teams, administration, and support services." The report of the canceled Deus Ex game comes from Bloomberg, although the exact shape the game was in is unclear. Bloomberg says it was canceled after 2 years in development, but then goes on to say it was supposed to begin production later this year. Embracer Group has been aggressively shutting down its studios ever since its rumored $2 billion deal with the Saudi-backed Savvy Games Group reportedly fell apart. Other studios that Embracer Group has shut down so far are Saints Row developer Volition and Timesplitters creator Free Radical Design. Embracer Group acquired Eidos Montreal from Square Enix back in 2022, along with the rights to franchises like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. The most recent entry in the Deus Ex franchise was 2016's Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Cool game. Moving on, Remedy Entertainment has released update 1.15 for Alan Wake 2, adding an option to turn down the game's spookiness. The patch notes also point to myriad bug fixes, alongside the addition of a chapter select option in the main menu, letting players hoover up those final collectibles with more ease. Remedy is quick to point out, the update also includes the much requested option to tune down the horror flashes, with players able to choose between low and normal horror flash visual and audio intensity. My favorite patch note here is in the visuals department. It goes, fixed the vegetation not always reacting to explosions in a cool way. Now that makes me want to fire up the game again.
Glad to see Alan Wake is releasing a mode that's tailor-made for me, because even though I love horror games, they're getting way too scary these days. Speaking of horror games, Sony announced a ton of new stuff this week during their State of Play, one of which is a highly anticipated remake of Silent Hill 2. You can check out everything announced at the link below on IGN playlist. Alright, we're about to take a quick break, but don't worry, because when we come back, we're checking out the latest on Deadpool 3, Dragon Ball Daima, Mortal Kombat 2, and much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You missed me? I know. There's a new Dragon Ball anime on the horizon, and we've got everything you should take away from the latest trailer, as well as an update on James Gunn's Supergirl and how Dakota Johnson feels about her upcoming Madam Web movie. Whew. But first, let's check out the latest on Mortal Kombat 2. Take it away.
Production on the Mortal Kombat 2 movie has wrapped, and actor Karl Urban has some words to share with fans. Now, posting on Instagram with this photo, Urban said, quote, "That's a picture wrapped for me and Johnny Cage on Mortal Kombat 2. Massive thanks to our incredible crew, cast, and phenomenal stunt team. Hands down, the most action-packed fun I've ever had on a film. Can't wait for you all to see it." And looking at the photo, he definitely does resemble his video game counterpart a whole lot more. Karl Urban is set to star as famous movie star Johnny Cage, along with Hiroyuki Sanada reprising his role as Scorpion in the first movie. Now, producer Todd Garner also dropped a barrage of teaser images of other characters set to show up in the sequel, like this one here. Now, this is supposedly Quan Chi, a villain who longtime fans of the Mortal Kombat series were surprised to see. We ain't seeing much of him though, it's just a hand. But we do have him confirmed for the sequel, along with Jade, Katana, Shao Kahn, and Sindel. Now, we don't know when the movie will be released just yet, but with principal photography being done, it could be either late this year or sometime 2025. We'll keep you posted as news breaks.
X-Men First Class director Matthew Vaughn thinks Deadpool and Wolverine can save the MCU. And speaking on Bro Bible's post-credit podcast, he said, quote, "The few snippets that I know about Deadpool versus Wolverine or Wolverine versus Deadpool, I'm sure that argument between Ryan and Hugh is happening as we speak, are unbelievable. That's going to be the jolt. The Marvel Universe is about to have a jolt of them, and it's going to bring that body back to life. I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are about to save the whole Marvel Universe." And with Deadpool 3, the only Marvel Cinematic Universe movie set to release this year on July 26th, here's hoping it'll be the redemption Marvel fans have been looking forward to after an abysmal 2023 full of MCU-related projects that were just shy of hitting the mark at the box office.
Madam Web, Sony's upcoming Spider-Man adjacent superhero flick, hits theaters in about 2 weeks, and I know a lot of us are skeptical if it'll be any good, and apparently that includes its star, Dakota Johnson. In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, Johnson discussed the challenges of acting in front of a blue screen, saying, quote, "There's fake explosions going off, and someone's going, 'explosion,' and you act like there's an explosion. That to me was absolutely psychotic. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good at all. I hope that I did an okay job." The actress does have faith in director S.J. Clarkson, though, and went on to praise her, saying, quote, "She works so hard and she has not taken her eyes off this movie since we started. Not all the effects in the film are digital," and in the interview, Johnson also discusses doing some stunt driving work, apparently driving an ambulance and also a taxi during the course of the film. Is that accurate to what Madam Web does in the comics? Does she just drive like a bunch of different vehicles? I don't know. I feel like probably no. Anyway, as much fun as it is to dunk on bad trailers, it takes a ridiculous, stupid, painful amount of work to make a movie, and with a few notable exceptions, it's pretty safe to assume that nobody sets out to make a bad movie. I think the underlying issue with Madam Web is that nobody asked for a Madam Web movie, and I doubt anybody actually wanted to make a Madam Web movie. As far as I can tell, this movie exists solely because Sony is trying to squeeze as much money out of the Marvel characters it has the rights to. Maybe it'll be a pleasant surprise and do something interesting, or maybe it'll be a complete train wreck that becomes a cult classic. We'll have to wait and find out when Madam Web hits theaters February 14th, Valentine's Day. Ooh la la, how romantic.
Now, in other news, Marvel has reportedly found a replacement for Steven Yeun's character in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. According to The Hollywood Reporter, actor Louis Pullman is apparently the studio's top choice in stepping into the role widely believed to be the Sentry. Now, you might remember Pullman from Top Gun Maverick, so it makes sense that he'd be the studio's top choice, huh? Now, there's no confirmation on this news, as neither Marvel nor Pullman's reps have commented on this news. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see if he shows up when Thunderbolts hits theaters July 25th, 2025.
Shifting cinematic superhero universes, James Gunn provided a little non-update about Superman Legacy, specifically that Batman will not appear in it. On Threads, a fan tagged the director in a post asking, quote, "Why can't Batman appear in Superman Legacy? And can we see Batman in some other production before his film?" To which Gunn replied, "Well, he can't appear in Superman Legacy because he's not in the script." Take this with a grain of salt, I guess, because things could always change. And even so, if Batman was going to show up, do you really think that Gunn would just like spoil it there? Having bats pop up in a post-credit stinger would definitely get people excited about the new DCU, but it's also totally fine with me if Gunn is more concerned with making one movie than setting up the next three, a trend that the MCU and the DCEU seem to have kind of run into the ground. The first place we know for sure we're going to see the Dark Knight pop up in the DCU is in The Brave and the Bold. The Flash and It Chapters 1 and 2 director Andy Muschietti is currently attached to the project, and it's supposedly going to draw from Grant Morrison's Batman run, exploring the father-son relationship of Batman and Robin. Otherwise, we don't really know much about this. Bear in mind, it is a completely unrelated project to the Matt Reeves sequel to The Batman, which exists in its own Elseworlds pocket dimension or whatever. In any case, Superman Legacy hits theaters July 11th of next year, and it hasn't even begun filming yet, but we will keep you posted when we find out more.
James Gunn has cast his Supergirl in actor Millie Alcock. Now, she's best known for portraying Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen in HBO's Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon. Now, while it's up in question if Supergirl will appear in the upcoming Superman movie Superman Legacy, it has been mentioned she'll appear in a DC-based project before soaring high in her solo film, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, James Gunn had nothing but positive words when talking about the new casting, stating that he first became aware of the actress in House of the Dragon, but was blown away by her varied auditions and screen tests for the role of Supergirl. Now, there's no release date just yet for the Supergirl movie, but with Superman Legacy slated for a 2025 release schedule, expected to follow in the years to come.
Music mogul Pharell Williams is having his life told through Legos in a new movie called Piece by Piece. The Focus Features movie, directed by Morgan Neville, will document the come-up of a young nerd who went on to become an influential nerd, creating NERD, launching the illustrious career of the Neptunes, and introducing the world to Pharell Williams. And it'll all be creatively told through Lego pieces. Now, Pharell even took to Instagram to post this really cool poster with a statement, quote, "Who would have thought that playing with Legos as a kid would evolve into a movie about my life? It's proof that anyone else can do it too." Now, Piece by Piece hits theaters October 11th.
Now, in other news, Kurt Russell spoke with GQ about why he didn't take on the role of Snake in Kojima's Metal Gear Solid series, a role he was apparently offered for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. When asked about the obvious influence of Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, he had this to say.
I come from a different era. I wasn't interested in expanding financially off of something that we had created or that I had created in terms of a character. And I get business people, sure. Well, we could do this with that. We could do this with that, or we could do this with that. You know, and I look at it and goes, that's not written by John. That doesn't smell right. John's not here to do this with. Why am I? I'm not gonna do that. Let's go do something new. Let's go do something fresh. Let's go create another iconic character rather than saying, what can we bleed off of this iconic character? And, you don't look at them as iconic characters. I mean, they refer to them as that if they become that. You're just doing you're on a day-to-day, running it, having a good time and trying to make it work.
And little did he know that Kojima's Snake would go on to be just as iconic in his own medium as the character who inspired him. But honestly, it's all for the better, as we were blessed with the vocals of David Hayter for several years. And he's honestly the goated Snake VA we might have to date.
Speaking of reimaginings of flying superheroes who crash landed on Earth as babies, we got another glimpse of Goku's new adventures in a new trailer for Dragon Ball Daima. Daima premieres this fall and will tell an all-new story that sees Goku and basically the entire Dragon Ball cast transformed into small children for some reason. This already happened to Goku once in Dragon Ball GT, but this time it's happening to everybody, which is a very, very silly premise and one that seems to kind of harken back to classic Dragon Ball. The new trailer shows the pint-sized Saiyan wolfing down a bunch of exotic food like black cheeseburgers and a fried lizard, and then beating up a bunch of much larger demonic-looking bad guys. So, you know, Goku stuff. You can check out the full trailer for yourself, but aside from a glimpse of the new visuals, it doesn't really give any more context. I know a lot of fans were hoping to see a continuation of Dragon Ball Super, but I'm really stoked to get something as totally goofy as Daima, and Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama is more closely involved with this than he has been with any of the recent projects. That drops sometime this fall. If you want to hear my full thoughts, I wrote a big, long video all about that when the first trailer showed up, so go check that out if you're curious.
I'm Nick, and that was your weekly fix. We'll be back next week with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news. But until then, check out IGN Rewards. It gets you access to a ton of awesome giveaways and great deals you won't find anywhere else. Right now, members can get free games, enter for the chance to win a custom Steam Deck, and a ton more cool stuff. It's totally free to sign up, and it takes just 1 second. Just head over to IGN.com/rewards. And that wraps it up for this week. Until next time, go be great and take care.